Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the English Playbook. I'm David.
And I'm Sarah. We are so excited to have you here for episode 19.
Today's episode is going to be absolutely massive. We're talking 100 minutes of pure English learning gold.
That's right. And we're diving deep into one of the most useful topics for English learners: how to describe personalities. Whether you're preparing for job interviews, making new friends, or just want to express yourself better in English, this episode is for you.
We'll be covering over 50 different personality adjectives, from positive traits like eloquent and magnanimous to more challenging ones like reckless and clumsy.
Plus, we'll share tons of examples, real-life scenarios, and even some fun stories from our own experiences. So grab your notebook, get comfortable, and let's get started.
So Sarah, before we jump into all these amazing words, let's talk about why learning personality vocabulary is so important.
Great question, David. When I first started learning English, I could describe what someone looked like: tall, short, blonde hair, brown eyes, but I struggled to describe who they actually were as a person.
Exactly. Physical descriptions are easy, but personality is what makes someone unique. It's about their character, their behavior, how they interact with the world.
And here's the thing. In professional settings like job interviews, you're almost always asked to describe yourself. Imagine if all you could say was, "I'm good," or "I'm nice." That's pretty bland, right?
Totally. But if you can say, I'm diligent, open-minded, and I have great attention to detail, suddenly you sound much more professional and confident.
Absolutely. Plus, understanding personality vocabulary helps you in everyday conversations. You can better express your feelings about people, understand movie characters, read books with more depth.
And let's not forget about friendships and relationships. Being able to articulate what you appreciate about someone or what bothers you is crucial for healthy communication.
So true. All right, I think we've set the stage. Let's dive into our first set of vocabulary words.
Let's start with two fundamental personality types that everyone should know: outgoing and shy.
These are great starter words because they're so common. David, are you more outgoing or shy?
Oh, I'm definitely outgoing. I love meeting new people, starting conversations with strangers, going to parties.
See, that's a perfect example. When we say someone is outgoing, we mean they're comfortable in social situations. They don't hesitate to talk to people they don't know.
Right. So if you break down the word, out and going, it literally means going out into the world, being social and active.
Exactly. Here's a great sentence. My sister is very outgoing. She makes friends wherever she goes.
Love that example. Now, the opposite of outgoing is shy. Sarah, would you say you're shy?
I used to be much more shy when I was younger. I'd get nervous speaking in front of groups, and I preferred staying home rather than going to big social events.
And that's perfectly normal. Being shy isn't a bad thing. It just means you need more time to warm up to people, or you prefer smaller, more intimate social settings.
Absolutely. Here's an important note for our listeners. In English, we don't say "I am a shy" or "he is outgoing." These are adjectives, so we say "I am shy" or "he is outgoing."
Great point. Let's give some more examples. Tom is too shy to speak in class. The new employee seems shy, but she's very knowledgeable.
And for outgoing, we need an outgoing person for this customer service position. Her outgoing personality makes her perfect for sales.
Now, here's a fun challenge for our listeners. Think about yourself. Are you outgoing or shy? And here's the interesting part. You might be outgoing in some situations and shy in others.
Oh, that's so true. I'm outgoing when I'm teaching or talking about topics I'm passionate about, but I can be shy at big networking events where I don't know anyone.
Same here. Context matters so much. All right, let's move on to our next personality trait.
Our next word is a really interesting one: superstitious. David, are you superstitious?
Not really, but I know a lot of people who are. My grandmother was incredibly superstitious. She believed in all sorts of things.
So let's break this down. When someone is superstitious, they believe that certain actions or objects can bring good luck or bad luck, even though there's no logical reason for it.
Right. It's about believing in magic, fate, or chance rather than science or logic.
Every culture has different superstitions. In many Western cultures, people believe that walking under a ladder brings bad luck.
Or breaking a mirror gives you 7 years of bad luck.
Exactly. And opening an umbrella indoors is also considered bad luck in some places.
In some Asian cultures, the number 4 is considered unlucky because it sounds like the word for death in several languages.
And in contrast, the number 7 is often considered lucky in Western cultures. Friday the 13th is thought to be an unlucky day.
Here are some example sentences. My roommate is so superstitious that he won't walk past a black cat. I'm not superstitious, so I don't mind sitting in row 13 on the airplane.
Another good one. She's superstitious about her lucky pen. She uses it for every exam.
Now, I want to share a quick personal story. When I was in college, I had this one friend who was extremely superstitious about exams.
Oh no, what did he do?
He had to wear the same pair of socks for every test. He called them his lucky socks. And the funny thing is, he did really well on his exams, so he was convinced the socks were working.
That's hilarious. But see, that's the thing about superstitions. Even if they don't make logical sense, believing in them can actually make you feel more confident. Our next personality trait is naive. And this is one that requires some care when you use it.
Why is that?
Well, calling someone naive can sometimes be offensive, even though it's not always meant as an insult.
Right, so let's define it clearly. A naive person is someone who believes things too easily. They're innocent, inexperienced, and tend to trust what people tell them without questioning it.
Here's a perfect example. If I told you, David, hey, did you know that it's going to rain frogs tomorrow?
No way, really?
See, if you actually believed me, that would be naive. Obviously, it's not going to rain frogs.
Right, so a naive person might hear something ridiculous and just accept it as truth without thinking critically about it.
Exactly. Children are often naive because they haven't had enough life experience to know when someone might be lying or joking.
And that's not necessarily bad when you're young, it's part of learning. But when adults are too naive, it can lead to problems.
Like being scammed or taken advantage of. That's why we have to be careful with this word.
Let's give some example sentences. Jake is so naive, he believes anything you tell him. Many websites try to take advantage of naive people who don't understand internet scams.
Here's another. When I first moved to the city, I was quite naive about how expensive everything would be.
Good one. Now, here's an interesting nuance. Sometimes we use naive to describe someone's view or belief rather than the person themselves.
Oh, great point. Like, it's naive to think you can learn English perfectly in just 1 month.
Exactly. In that case, we're not calling the person naive or saying their expectation is unrealistic.
Such an important distinction. So, listeners, remember, be careful when using this word. It can be helpful for describing innocent or inexperienced behavior, but don't overuse it or you might offend someone.
Absolutely. And here's something to think about. We all have areas where we're a bit naive. Maybe you're experienced in your career, but naive about cooking, or vice versa.
So true. Nobody knows everything. All right, let's keep moving.
Now we're getting into some personality traits that are definitely more negative. Let's talk about being reckless.
Ooh, this is a good one. David, have you ever done anything reckless?
Well, I once went skydiving, and some people told me that was pretty reckless.
Skydiving, wow. But actually, was it reckless?
That's a great question. Here's the key distinction. I did it with a professional instructor with proper equipment after training, so it was calculated risk, not reckless behavior.
Exactly. Being reckless means doing something dangerous without thinking about the consequences or without taking proper precautions.
Right, so if I had just jumped out of a plane without any training or equipment, that would be reckless.
Please don't do that. Let's give some real examples of reckless behavior. Driving a car without wearing a seatbelt, texting while driving, swimming in dangerous waters without a lifeguard.
Those are perfect examples. Here are some sentence examples. Stanley was arrested for reckless driving because he was going 100 miles per hour in a school zone. It's reckless to ignore safety warnings at construction sites.
Another good one. Her reckless spending habits left her deep in debt.
Oh, that's a great example because it shows that reckless doesn't only apply to physical danger. You can be financially reckless, emotionally reckless.
Absolutely. My friend was reckless with my feelings when she shared my secrets with everyone.
Now, here's something interesting. There's a fine line between being daring and being reckless. We'll talk more about daring later, but the key difference is thought and preparation.
Right. Someone who is daring takes calculated risks. Someone who is reckless doesn't think at all. They just act.
Let me share a story. I had a friend in high school who was extremely reckless. He would drive his motorcycle way too fast, never wore a helmet, and would do dangerous stunts.
Oh no. Did he get hurt?
Unfortunately, yes, he had a serious accident because of his reckless behavior. Thankfully, he recovered and learned his lesson. Now he's much more careful.
That's a powerful example of why recklessness is dangerous. It's not just about being adventurous. It's about putting yourself and others at risk unnecessarily.
Exactly. So, listeners, if someone describes you as reckless, take it as a warning sign. It means you need to slow down and think more carefully about your actions.
All right, let's move on to a personality trait that's a bit lighter. Clumsy.
Oh, I love this word. Sarah, are you clumsy?
I have my moments. Just last week, I dropped my coffee mug and it shattered everywhere.
Classic clumsy moment. So let's define this. Someone who is clumsy often trips, falls, drops things, or bumps into objects.
Right, they lack coordination or grace. It's not that they're doing it on purpose, they just seem to have accidents more often than other people.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Being clumsy isn't usually considered a serious flaw. It's almost enduring sometimes.
That's true. It can even be cute in certain contexts, like, oh, you're so clumsy, said with a smile.
But it can also be frustrating if you're the clumsy person. Imagine constantly breaking things or spilling drinks.
Let's give some examples. I am so clumsy. I accidentally hit my head on the door this morning. He is very clumsy. He's always dropping things. I can't hold delicate things in my hands. I have clumsy fingers.
There's also a great English expression related to this. Butterfingers.
Oh, yes. If someone drops something, you might tease them by saying, "You butterfingers." It means their fingers are like butter, so slippery that they can't hold on to anything.
That's such a fun expression. You butterfingers, you dropped the ball.
Now, I want to share a funny story. When I was learning to cook, I was incredibly clumsy in the kitchen. I would burn myself, cut my fingers, drop ingredients.
Oh no.
That's definitely a clumsy moment, but I bet you're much better now, right? Yes, practice makes perfect. And that's an important point. Being clumsy doesn't mean you'll always be clumsy. With time and practice, you can improve your coordination.
Absolutely. So if you're clumsy, don't worry too much about it. Just be aware of your surroundings and maybe avoid carrying expensive, fragile items.
Good advice. All right, we've covered some great vocabulary so far. Let's take a quick breath and then dive into our next segment.
Welcome back, everyone. Now we're going to talk about some really positive personality traits, starting with extroverted.
This is one of my favorite words because it's so useful for describing social personalities.
So, Sarah, we talked about outgoing earlier. How is extroverted different?
Great question. They're actually very similar, almost synonyms. The main difference is that extroverted is a bit more formal and is often used in psychology.
Right. In personality psychology, there's the famous extrovert versus introvert distinction.
Exactly. An extroverted person or extrovert is someone who gets energy from being around other people. They love social interactions, meeting new people, going to parties.
Whereas an introverted person, or introvert, gets drained by too much social interaction and needs alone time to recharge.
Yes, and neither is better than the other. It's just different personality types.
So let's break down the word itself. Extro or extra means outside or outward. So an extroverted person directs their energy outward toward other people and the external world.
And intro means inside or inward, so introverts direct their energy inward toward their own thoughts and feelings.
Here are some example sentences. She's very extroverted and loves attending networking events. The job requires an extroverted personality because you'll be meeting clients all day.
Another one, I'm more extroverted than my brother, who prefers quiet evenings at home.
Now, here's something important. Many people think they have to be either extroverted or introverted, but actually, most people are somewhere in the middle.
Yes, that's called being an ambivert. You might be extroverted in some situations and introverted in others.
Exactly. For example, I'm extroverted when I'm teaching or doing this podcast, but I'm more introverted when I'm at a big party where I don't know anyone.
Same here. I love public speaking and teaching, but I also need quiet time alone to recharge.
So, listeners, don't feel like you have to fit perfectly into one category. Humans are complex.
Absolutely. And here's another tip. If you're describing yourself in a job interview and the position requires lots of social interaction, emphasizing that you're extroverted can be a big plus.
Great point. You could say something like, I'm naturally extroverted, which is why I thrive in customer-facing roles.
Perfect. All right, let's keep going with our positive personality traits. Now we're getting into some more sophisticated vocabulary. Let's talk about being magnanimous.
Ooh, this is a fancy word. I love it.
It is fancy, and it's not used as commonly in everyday conversation, but it's powerful when you do use it.
So what does magnanimous mean?
A magnanimous person is someone who is generous, forgiving, and noble in spirit. They do things for the benefit of others, often without expecting anything in return.
Right, they're not selfish. They think about the well-being of other people.
Exactly. The word comes from Latin. Magnus means great or large, and animus means spirit or soul. So literally it means great-spirited.
I love that. So a magnanimous person has a great, generous spirit.
Yes. Let's give some examples. It was magnanimous of him to forgive his rival after such a bitter competition. Her magnanimous donation helped build a new school in the village.
Here's another. The CEO made a magnanimous gesture by giving bonuses to all employees during the difficult year.
Perfect. Notice how magnanimous is often used to describe actions or gestures, not just the person themselves.
Good point. You might say a magnanimous act or a magnanimous gesture.
Now, we typically hear this word in formal contexts, in newspapers, in descriptions of public figures, or in literature.
Right. You probably wouldn't say, my friend was so magnanimous. She bought me coffee this morning.
Exactly. That would be a bit over the top. You'd just say she was generous or kind.
But if your friend donated half her salary to victims of an earthquake, then yes, you could say that was truly magnanimous.
Perfect example. The word implies a significant, selfless act.
Now, I want to talk about magnanimity in forgiveness because that's another common use.
Oh, great topic.
When someone wrongs you and you forgive them completely without holding a grudge, that's magnanimous behavior.
Yes. For example, after losing the election, she made a magnanimous speech congratulating her opponent and wishing him success.
That's beautiful. It takes real strength of character to be magnanimous in defeat.
Absolutely. So, listeners, this is a word to add to your vocabulary for describing truly generous, noble actions.
Our next word is another sophisticated one, eloquent.
I love this word. It's all about communication skills.
So if someone is eloquent, what does that mean?
An eloquent person is someone who speaks or writes very well. They express themselves clearly, persuasively, and beautifully.
Right. When you listen to an eloquent speaker, you're captivated. They choose their words carefully, their ideas flow smoothly, and they make complex concepts easy to understand.
Exactly. Think about great public speakers. Martin Luther King Jr., Barack Obama, Maya Angelou. They were all incredibly eloquent.
Perfect examples. Let's give some sentence examples. He has an eloquent way of speaking that makes everyone listen. The priest gave an eloquent sermon about love today. She wrote an eloquent essay that moved the entire class.
Another one, his eloquent defense of the proposal convinced the board to approve it.
Now, it's important to note that being eloquent isn't just about using big, fancy words.
Oh, great point. In fact, true eloquence is about clarity and impact.
Right, you can use simple words and still be eloquent if you express yourself clearly and powerfully.
Absolutely. Eloquence is about how you use language, not just which words you choose.
Let me share an interesting observation. Many people can write eloquently but struggle to speak eloquently, or vice versa.
That's so true. Writing gives you time to think and revise, but speaking requires you to be eloquent in real time.
Exactly. That's why eloquent speaker is such a specific compliment.
Now, if you want to become more eloquent, there are several things you can do. Read widely, especially well-written books and articles. Practice speaking on various topics. Record yourself and listen back. Study great speeches and presentations.
Those are excellent tips. I'd also add expand your vocabulary and learn to use transition words and phrases.
Yes, words like furthermore, however, consequently, these help your speech flow more smoothly.
Now, here's a fun exercise for our listeners. Try to describe something you're passionate about for 2 minutes without saying or like.
That's harder than it sounds.
It really is, but practicing this will help you become more eloquent.
Absolutely. All right, we're getting close to our final vocabulary word for today.
And finally, let's talk about being daring.
This is such an interesting word because it can be both positive and negative depending on the context.
Exactly. So let's define it. A daring person is someone who is willing to take risks and do things that might be dangerous or difficult.
Right. They're bold, brave, and not afraid to try new things.
Now, here's where it gets interesting. Remember earlier when we talked about being reckless?
Yes.
Daring and reckless both involve risk-taking, but there's a crucial difference.
Let me explain. Someone who is daring takes calculated risks. They think about the potential consequences and prepare accordingly.
Whereas someone who is reckless doesn't think at all, they just act impulsively.
Perfect distinction. So when I went skydiving, that was daring because I trained, used proper equipment, and had a professional instructor.
Exactly, it was a risk, but it was calculated and prepared.
But if you just jumped out of a plane without any of that, it would be reckless.
Right, let's give some examples of daring behavior. She made a daring career change, leaving her stable job to start her own business. The explorer's daring expedition to Antarctica was carefully planned. His daring investment paid off when the startup became hugely successful.
Here's another. It was a daring move to speak up against the company policy, but it needed to be said.
I love that example because it shows that being daring isn't just about physical risks. It can be about social or professional risks too.
Absolutely. Sometimes the most daring thing you can do is speak your truth or stand up for what you believe in.
Now, in business contexts, being daring is often seen as very positive.
Yes, entrepreneurs need to be daring to succeed. They need to take risks that others might not be willing to take.
But there's a balance, right? You can't be so daring that you become reckless.
Exactly. The best leaders are daring, but also strategic and thoughtful.
Let me share one final story to illustrate this. I once had a mentor who was incredibly daring in her business decisions.
Tell us more.
She would take on projects that seemed impossible, enter markets that competitors avoided, and invest in innovative technologies.
So she was reckless?
No, that's the key. She was daring, not reckless. She did extensive research, had backup plans, and always calculated her risks carefully. Her daring approach made her company incredibly successful.
That's a perfect example of positive daring behavior.
Exactly. So, listeners, being daring can be a wonderful trait if you balance it with wisdom and preparation.
And that brings us to the end of our 100-minute journey through personality vocabulary.
Wow, what an episode. We've covered so much ground today.
Let's do a quick recap of all the words we discussed. Outgoing and shy, superstitious, naive, reckless, clumsy, extroverted and introverted, diligent, magnanimous, eloquent, and daring.
Plus, we touched on so many others throughout our conversations. This episode was packed with vocabulary.
Absolutely. Now here's your homework, dear listeners. Choose 3 adjectives that best describe your personality and try to use them in sentences this week.
Great homework assignment.
And if you're preparing for a job interview, practice describing yourself using these sophisticated words.
Remember, personality vocabulary isn't just about memorizing definitions. It's about understanding nuances and using words appropriately in context.
So true. Keep practicing, keep learning, and most importantly, don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Before we go, we want to thank you all so much for joining us on the English Playbook. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, like, and share it with your friends.
And leave us a comment telling us which personality trait best describes you. We love hearing from our listeners.
Until next time, keep playing, keep learning, and keep improving your English.
This is David,
And Sarah.
signing off from the English Playbook.